This is episode 2 of the Ask a Photographer podcast. My name is Mike Biblino and I'll be answering your photography-related questions on workflow, editing, business and marketing. Today's question is from Joanna. She's asking, which lens and camera combo should I get to photograph my kids' sport? I have 2 young kids, 8 and 10 years old. They do gymnastics and soccer. I currently use my iPhone or my Nikon point and shoot that is about 5 years old. Both cameras give me blurry photos. Will a digital SLR give me better results? Which camera and lens would you suggest for my kids' sport? Hey Joanna, thank you for your question. And yeah, you are right. A digital SLR will give you far superior photos than what a mobile phone or even a point and shoot camera that's 5 or so years old. Reason being, the technology is advanced, but also the focusing on these 2 cameras is not as good, especially in low light conditions. And when you're indoors photographing gymnastics, you may get better results when you're outside photographing the soccer. So that's definitely the case. Now, in regards to suggesting camera body and lens, you haven't mentioned your budget, which is fine. So what I'm going to do is give you the cheapest entry point here, and because I think it's potentially your first digital SLR. What I would suggest is getting a camera body either from Nikon, Canon, Sony or Pentax. They're all good manufacturers, but getting a camera body that has a crop sensor, meaning that the sensor, when you put a lens to the camera, it magnifies it. Now, going with Canon, they actually have a crop sensor that magnifies lenses by 1.6. So if I've got 100mm lens attached to the camera, it's going to be 160 mils, which is going to get you closer to the action. That would be my first thing to do. I mean, you could go for a camera with a full frame sensor. They are a bit more expensive. They have better capabilities in low light, but they're, for what you're photographing, and since you're only just starting with a digital SLR, the crop sensor could be the cheaper option and better option for you. As for lens choice, I think a 70 to 200 is a good choice. It's a good range because you can do portraits with it of the kids. You can photograph from a distance with a soccer. At that age, the pictures are smaller. They're not full pictures, so you're getting quite close to the action. You can zoom in and out as they're coming towards you or going away. It also, of course, if you're doing gymnastics, you'll be up in the stands. You won't be as close when you're at the soccer. So that gives you a little bit more reach. Now, what I would suggest is getting something like a 2.8 lens. Now, only because if you get, say, a lens that changes the aperture as you zoom in and out, as the sun goes down or indoors, when you start at, say, the lower end on 70 mils, it'll allow the most amount of light into the camera. As you zoom out, it actually starts restricting how much light goes into the camera. So I would suggest you get something that is constant 2.8 lens. It will help you when you're indoors, and that way when it comes time to photographing and exposing for your photos, it'll be easy for you to manage. You can buy lenses that are not by the manufacturer, which are slightly cheaper if you want to go down that way. It cost is an issue, but my personal choice would be, if you're buying a particular brand, buy the lens from that manufacturer. But then that just comes down to how much funds you have to spend with that. Now, there are lenses that have image stabilization or vibration reduction. Basically, what it is, there's a gyro inside the lens, and it detects movement, and of course it counteracts if you're going up or down. It goes the opposite direction, and left and right, and that type of thing. These lenses cost a bit more and they are slightly heavier, but if you're holding the camera with no other assistance, they can help. It's one of those things, if you're photographing indoors or even outdoors and you're there for quite a while, your arm's going to get tired. So what I will recommend is that you buy yourself a monopod. A monopod, just like it's tripod but just one leg, hence the word mono. And by doing so, you're going to save your shoulders, especially if gymnastics meet or taking a full game of soccer. Now, by doing so, it means that you don't have to get a lens that has image stabilization, which will make the price of buying the lens cheaper. So it's a bit of a win there. Yeah, so that's what I would suggest. Getting a crop sensor, body camera, getting a lens that's in the 200mm range, preferably something that is in a 2.8 f-stop, which will allow the most amount of light, and making sure that it is a consistent 2.8 aperture will help you there. And also getting a monopod, which will mean that you can get the cheaper lens option and not having to get vibration reduction. So thanks for your question. If you have a question that you'd like featured on the show, go to beblino.com/podcast to submit your question. You'll also find show notes and other episodes on that page as well. I'd love to hear what you think of the show by going to iTunes or Stitcher and giving me a review and a rating. Thanks for listening, and until next time, get out and take more photos.
Oh look, it's a cat in front of a sunset.